Welcome to the Times of Israel's daily briefing. Today is Thursday, October 2nd, day 727 of the war. Amanda Borschel-Dan here with our military correspondent, Emanuel Fabian, with a short post-Yom Kippur update. Hi, Manny. Thanks so much for joining me.
Hi, Amanda.
Israel's Navy intercepted the large flotilla that was attempting to break its maritime blockade on the Hamas-ruled Gaza Strip. We'll hear all about this Yom Kippur operation that ended around 2 p.m. today, as well as other updates from Gaza. All this and more when we're back. First, some news. 2 people were killed and 3 seriously injured when a man drove a car into people outside a packed synagogue in Manchester in northern England on Thursday today, which was during the holy day of Yom Kippur. He then began stabbing them. Police shot and killed the suspect outside Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue. And at a press conference, Chief Constable Sir Stephen Watson said the suspect, who was wearing a vest that appeared to be a suicide device, was shot some 7 minutes after the first emergency call was received. The attack took place as people gathered at the Orthodox synagogue on Yom Kippur, again, the Day of Atonement and holiest day in the Jewish calendar. The rabbi leading the Yom Kippur services at the Manchester synagogue, targeted in the deadly terror attack, is being hailed as a hero, with eyewitnesses describing how he helped protect congregants. This is a developing story, so please check back on our site for more information. Let's turn to Gaza. And an IDF officer was seriously wounded, and 2 other troops, including a reservist, were lightly injured by gunfire during the fighting in central Gaza today. Manny, what can you tell us about this?
So we're just getting more details now on this incident in Gaza. From what we understand is that Hamas operatives, one, maybe more possibly, reached an army post sort of in the Israeli-held buffer zone in central Gaza, and opened fire on troops there. And one of the officers that was seriously injured. 2 other soldiers were lightly hurt, and the Hamas gunman who carried out this attack was killed, although it's unclear if others were potentially involved. That's as much as we have right now on the incident. Okay,
let's talk about a rocket barrage that came from Gaza and was aimed at the southern coastal city of Ashdod. Who has taken credit for this?
So Hamas took responsibility for this rocket fire, which of course came on Yom Kippur, on the evening. There were no injuries or damage in this attack. 4 of the rockets were intercepted. 1 hit an open area without causing any damage. Not the first time Hamas has fired at Ashdod. That was several weeks ago, rocket fire at Ashdod. But it is rare to see long-range attacks and rocket attacks with multiple projectiles as well. 5 rockets is quite a significant number for rocket fire from Gaza, compared to, if you look at the past year of attacks, there's been few with more than 1 or 2 projectiles.
Right. In fact, I think just 1 or 2 is what we've been seeing for, half a year at least, something like that. And seeing 5 all of a sudden, of course, on the eve of what could be a peace plan being realized is a bit startling, though not unprecedented, of course. Do you know anything about the quality of these rockets? Are they the same quality that they would have had prior to October 7th, or are these some kind of makeshift gerrymandered rockets at this point?
No, I believe it's the same rockets they had before, and I would consider them to be probably lower quality. The big issue that Hamas has in Gaza right now is they don't really have the launchers anymore for these rockets, because of course launchers, you reuse them every time you want to fire a rocket, and Israel has of course targeted the vast majority of their rocket launch sites. So what happens is Hamas finds old rockets, sometimes hidden in a tunnel somewhere, or in some weapon depot that Israel was unaware of, and will try to launch them with a makeshift launcher. We've seen footage that Hamas has put out before with, they've built together some new launcher to try and use, or in some cases they'll just put sandbags and try to launch it on that, and they're far less accurate that way.
Okay, let's turn to the flotilla. And after the military issued a final warning for the pro-Palestinian fleet to change course, Israel's Navy intercepted the large flotilla of some 47 vessels that were attempting to break the maritime blockade blockade on the Gaza Strip. And of course, these operations came, as you predicted, Manny, as the country marked Yom Kippur, which of course began last night and continued until sundown today. So Manny, take us through the operation.
So sort of late last night, the Israeli Navy began to essentially intercept this flotilla that was approaching Israel. They first called on them over the radio to change course, to go straight to the Ashdod port and drop off the aid there so it could be brought to Gaza. Of course, the activists refused. They've refused many calls in recent weeks, and even not just from Israel, but from some of their respective countries. We heard from Italy and Spain as well, calling on their citizens to turn around and not try to go into the blockaded area by Israel. The Navy then, despite this being a large flotilla of more than 40 vessels, the Navy managed to intercept essentially all of them. They did it slowly. They went for the larger ships first. So the Navy approached them, told them to change course. If they didn't agree, the naval commanders boarded their vessels. In some cases, the Navy also used water cannons on the vessels to get them to stop. And then once the Navy boarded them, in some cases they towed the vessels themselves to Ashdod port. And in others, they rounded up the activists aboard the vessels and took them to a larger Navy vessel. The Navy actually used its landing craft or logistic vessel for the first time. I've seen these in action now. They're relatively new. The Navy only received them at the beginning of the year. And this lasted essentially all night and into the morning. The last vessels, I think, were intercepted at around 11-ish, 12-ish noon. There was one vessel which had apparently had a broken engine and was very far out, so the Navy didn't even bother intercepting them. And Israel has said that if they do end up approaching them, they will be intercepted, but right now they're too far away to even bother with them. But there were no major incidents. There was no violence. We're hearing that all of the activists are in okay condition. And it seems like it passed again, and this is now the third flotilla that Israel is dealing with. Israel managed to basically handle this adequately, but now, of course, this goes over to the police and the prison service and immigration authorities in Israel. Around 400 or so of these activists have been brought to the Ashdod port. The police just reported that 250 have been processed already, and essentially they're going to be deported in the coming days. Those who refuse to be deported will be put in jail for a bit, and then they'll be brought in front of a court who will then order them to be deported by force, essentially. But that's where we are now. It's a lot more than the previous ones where there was only like 20 or 30 activists. We're talking more than 400, so it is a bit of a challenge.
Of course, there will be more updates on the site, but I think the real question is, Manny, where'd they handed out sandwiches and bottles of water?
I'm not actually certain. I hope so, for the activists' sake, so they didn't have to, be starving like everyone else was on Yom Kippur. But I haven't seen actually footage of that, and it's possible that Israel didn't actually provide them with water and sandwiches this time. And also, just to point out, these Navy sailors had to, on Yom Kippur night and throughout all night long, were dealing with this when they could have been doing better things, perhaps fighting in Gaza, but they were tasked with this task, and it's unfortunate that was the case, especially on Yom Kippur itself.
A memorable Yom Kippur, to be sure. Manny, thank you so much for this briefer briefing than usual, and I will let you go.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Times of Israel's Daily Briefing. Please check out another installment tomorrow. This episode was produced by Adina Karpuch. If you have any questions or comments about this or any other episode, please drop us an email to podcast@timesofisrael.com. Until tomorrow. Shalom.